Story 1. Learn to say no. Also, learn to accept no for an answer. It does not require any reason. No is a complete answer. Story 2. You can do whatever you want to be happy. Do not listen to people who want to control you. Do not get overattached. Choose your partner wisely. Story 3. Critical thinking and critical analysis. Lack of these two traits is driving the world insane, especially here in America. Story 4. How to cook. Being able to look in the refrigerator and use up the leftovers without a recipe is a great skill to have, but it takes time to develop. Story 5. Basic tool use and handiness skills. You would be surprised how many things you can accomplish yourself with very few tools. Story 6. Figure out what your purpose is. What are you doing? What are you working towards? What makes you happy? What causes you stress? All of that. Story 7. How to schmooze and network. Even if you are an introvert with social anxiety, you need to learn communication as a skill if you want to find a career and advance within it. Being able to activate that skill when needed has helped me on several occasions and secured opportunities where I competed with more technically proficient people. Story 8. True happiness comes from loving yourself first, regardless of whether anyone else does. True love comes from the love of giving to others, even if they have no idea you are the one giving. Story 9. Cooking at least enough basics to prepare most of your meals from grocery store ingredients and not take out. Also, how to get around without global positioning system or other connected navigation systems. Paper maps are acceptable, and you should definitely have a paper map in your car. It is fine to use modern technology to make day-to-day tasks easier if you want, but you should also learn how to manage, at least temporarily, without it in case of an emergency when you cannot access it. Story 10. Learn to cook. I'm not saying you need to know how to make a beef Wellington or anything big like that, but my brother-in-law moved in with us about 2 months ago, and I just taught him how to make macaroni and cheese, not Kraft, but from scratch. Also, for you guys out there, if you can cook, you'll score some major points with the ladies. Make your date a dish of pasta aglio e olio, and I guarantee a second date. Story 11. How to be punctual. Being late all the time is extremely disrespectful to your friends and those around you, and they do notice. I do not care if you have time blindness or anything that makes you chronically late. You are an adult. There are many ways to deal with this, and you are actively choosing not to because you are inconsiderate towards those around you. Story 12. Healthy habits. Receiving constructive criticism positively, critical thinking, acceptance, and inclusion of others' differences. Story 13. I think the most important thing before the age of 30 is to learn not to worry about small problems and to be able to provide for yourself in any crisis. Everything else is not a problem at all. If you know how to take responsibility for yourself and avoid wasting time on empty thoughts, nothing can stop you. You have been through so much adversity, and it has not broken you, my friend. Story 14. How to know the difference between need and want. You can save yourself a lot of trouble by learning to differentiate between the two. Story 15. Own your mistakes. Don't let problems sit or they will become crises. Know your own self-worth, both as an individual and as you are perceived by a commodified culture. It is important to realize how little you matter to most companies you will work for, and how much you need to stand up for yourself without violating their policy. This is not something everyone can easily do, but it is a crucial skill for anyone working for large corporations or conglomerates. If you have love, nurture it fiercely. Do not try to control it, but appreciate it and help it grow. The person you can be entirely at ease with in silence is significant. Do not hire the first lawyer you consult. Give the police nothing, no matter what, until you have a lawyer present. Do not buy a brand new car from the dealership. People are more complicated than their ideologies, and only complete isolation from society allows the preservation of some misinformed conclusions. Exposure to anyone of a different background than your own makes it impossible to hate them the way systems encourage. We are all on the same team versus a blind system with no clear goal beyond harvest. Story 16. Good nonviolent communication skills, 5 go-to recipes, a good stretching routine, and how to change your oil and attire. Story 17. How to make yourself a proper meal, not a TV dinner or hot pocket. Know how to prepare one solid meal that you make yourself. Yes, it is okay if you use some store-bought ingredients, but most of the effort should be yours. Story 18. If you are doing something and there is a line behind you, hurry up. Do not be rude. More broadly, have some general awareness of the world around you. Story 19. Budgeting. I met a Chinese girl abroad, 25 years old. She had no idea how much she spends in a month, and she is not rich, nor are her parents. Story 20. It would be interesting for someone to gather the answers here. It seems like saying no and cooking are the most important. Story 21. A lot of the time it is not the world, it is you. You have much more control in your professional and personal relationships, your development, and your situations than you might think. If things are not working, try something different. Story 22. Basic math. The number of people who throw up their hands and say, "I am not good at math," when trying to figure out a 20% tip on a $46 meal is insane. Story 23. Swim. Figure out a way to learn how if you do not know. Take a class, find a buddy who was on a swim team growing up, or use some other method. The older you get, the more reasons you will find to skip learning how to swim. This is a very bad plan. Story 24. I am constantly surprised at how many adults do not know how to swim. Learning to at least tread water and survive should be in every human skill set. Story 25. I swear, everyone needs to learn how to say no. It took me way too long to realize that I did not have to say yes to everything, and that setting limits is okay. Once you get comfortable with it, you feel a lot lighter, and you actually make more room for what really matters to you. Story 26. How to be alone. Life gets so much better when you are comfortable and at some level of peace with yourself. Story 27. How to be patient and wait in an orderly fashion when getting on and off public transport. Many people skip the clear line for the door or jump in before allowing those on board to get off first. This behavior may stem from a lack of spatial awareness, self-centeredness, or simply a disregard for others. Either way, they need a lesson in common courtesy. Story 28. How credit cards work. It's surprising how many people are living normal, well-put-together lives but are harming themselves because they don't understand credit cards. Last year, I learned that one of my friends, who makes really good money, had no idea how credit cards actually worked. He never fully paid off his balance. He would just pay a set amount and carry the remaining balance over to the next month every time. When I realized he was doing this, I had to sit him down and explain what he was doing. Then, a couple of weeks ago, it happened again with a couple I know. They deliberately chose not to pay off their total bill because they thought everyone carries a balance and it doesn't matter. They were just handing the banks free money. Story 29. Do not skimp on anything that comes between you and the ground. Get a good mattress, good shoes, and a good chair, especially if you sit for work. Use good tires on a vehicle as well. You are in contact with the ground 99.99% of your life. It is worth investing in comfort and quality whenever possible. Story 30. Starting to work through your childhood and teenage trauma. It is never your fault that this happened to you, but it is your responsibility to deal with it in a healthy way, especially so you do not hurt others and yourself. Since it is never a bad thing, definitely seek professional help or go to therapy, not only when it is necessary. Story 31. You are the only one looking out for your best interests in reality. This includes companies you work for. If they have a cheaper or good enough option, they will take it. Change jobs when you think you are beginning to stagnate. Story 32. Minimalist lifestyle. Trust me, by simplifying your living, the best thing you gain is not just saving money. Story 33. Cooking and cleaning, taking care of things rather than always consuming more. Story 34. Learn to distinguish the imaginary reality in your mind from the actual reality, which causes most of the suffering in your life. Story 35. Budgeting, finances, and credit. Public schools do not have a curriculum for these topics, and they are important to maintain financial stability. Story 36. How to cook. Just the basics. Rice, pasta, roasts, fried chicken, and more. Tired of hearing, "Oh geez, I can't cook. I could burn water." Story 37. How to bear at least some pain and still function. A small injury that does not even really require first aid should not reduce an adult to a helpless puddle, absent any other issues. A bad mood should not affect everyone whose path you cross. Nobody can get through life completely pain-free. Fortitude is a good thing for everyone. Story 38. How to speak in public. Many people assume that it is extremely difficult and therefore never do it and actively avoid it. The trick is to force yourself to do it a few times, after which you will see that the fear is irrational. Story 39. Read, write, count, and understand what is being told. Think independently. The standard is unfortunately this low. Story 40. 1. Playing a sport professionally. 2. Learning 2 languages besides your native language. 3. Learning skills that you think will serve you in the future. 4. Looking for your actual goals, such as your mission in life. Story 41. How to evaluate the strength of evidence. That is, what is the better source? Hearsay, an unverified YouTube opinion video with no sources, or a peer-reviewed study. Story 42. Financial education is important because how can you raise a family if the first 10 years of your life you constantly burn money? Story 43. How to cook well and quickly. Cooking well will keep you healthy, and you can also use your skills to make others happy. Story 44. Accountability, communication, boundaries, therapy, or some form of processing what happens in life and growing from it versus getting validation for actions, and being okay with being wrong sometimes. Story 45. My life improved dramatically around age 30 when the woman who is now my wife taught me how to budget and live within my financial means. Story 46. How to manage money by living within your means, how to avoid being a toxic person, and how to genuinely be kind. Story 47. From the film, Swimming with Sharks. Look, it's like they say, if you're not a rebel by the age of 20, you have no heart, but if you haven't turned establishment by 30, you have no brains. Took me too long to fully understand this quote. Now at middle age, I see. I could have and should have played the game a little bit more, but I didn't want to. That's fine. But there are consequences to those actions. My more establishment friends have better jobs and incomes than me at this point in their lives. They are more comfortable than me, such as life. Story 48. Basic food preparation and cooking. Basic scissors and knife skills, including how to clean and maintain those tools. Basic food hygiene, cleanup, pot, pan, cutlery, and dish care. Meals with 3 to 6 ingredients, quick and nutritious meals. Basic budgeting for food, and recommended daily allowances. Equally important, no one should be allowed to enter the world without sex education, health, and hygiene courses. These courses teach young people why it is wise to wait before engaging in sexual activity. They also cover prevention of pregnancy, sexually transmitted infections, incest, sexual assault, and molestation. Additionally, they provide guidance on seeking help for physical and emotional abuse, addiction, managing menstrual or hormonal issues, and essential mental health and wellness information. Story 49. How to swim. I know many people in their 30s who do not know how to swim, mostly people from cities. Story 50. How to avoid bankruptcy for medical bills if you live in the United States. Sharing some resources. Action plan. Ask about financial assistance or charity care. Request the necessary forms. Ask for a social worker to help you complete the forms. Request an itemized hospital bill. Review and challenge items on the bill for services you never received or that are overpriced, such as procedures that never occurred or excessively expensive medications. Call the hospital billing department and ask for a settlement amount, which is a lower amount than initially quoted that can eliminate your bill. Do not propose a number. Have them provide one. If the settlement amount is still too high, politely decline, hang up, and call again on another day. When you receive a settlement amount you can afford, accept it. Inquire about installment plans. Hospitals may initially offer a higher monthly payment than desired, so request a lower payment spread over a longer period. How to reduce medical bills. Interview with Jared Walker, founder of $4, a nonprofit that helps people negotiate down their medical bills. An AMA with the founder of $4, which has eliminated over $70 million in medical debt for patients. Additional resources include personal stories, lists of organizations that provide assistance, information on medical pricing, and evaluations of hospitals for financial aid availability, podcasts, and more resources. Planet Money Episode 439, The Mysterious Power of a Hospital Bill. Planet Money Episode 655, Pay Patients, Save Money. This episode discusses Smart Shopper, a website where users can find prices of medical procedures in local hospitals and clinics. When insurance companies save money on procedures, they share a portion of the savings with patients as cash rewards. Other options. Goodbill examines your medical bill and negotiates with the hospital on your behalf. They earn a commission only if they save you money. Turquoise Health allows users to search for prices of medical procedures in their area. This American Life Episode 391, More is Less. This episode explains the American healthcare system and explores why costs continue to rise by focusing on doctors, patients, and the insurance industry. Cost Plus Drugs aims to provide safe, affordable medicines with transparent pricing. Hope this helps someone. Story 51. Don't wait for someone to reward you, especially at work. It will never happen. They will never recognize all your hard work and suddenly give you a raise or a new title. Ask for what you want and advocate for yourself early and often. Be prepared to prove your value to support your requests. Story 52. Emotional awareness and control. Basic car maintenance and easy repairs you can do by yourself for the most part. Some level of fashion sense. This does not have to be grand or spectacular, but color coordination at the least. Ability to somewhat read the room. Story 53. Basic food safety. My children both had to get food handler licenses in their younger years, so they understand that hot food stays hot, cold food stays cold, and the importance of preventing cross-contamination and maintaining clean hands. My husband, however, likes to smoke meat and had no real concept of food safety. Of course, his mother will pick mold off bread and serve it. Story 54. I am almost completely sure that regarding economics, many things can be achieved through saving or by having more education on these topics. Story 55. No, your parents did not buy a house straight out of college without ever having worked previously. They worked very hard, probably lived in a small apartment, then bought a house and brought you into this world. Story 56. You do not need an affliction or disease to be special. Many kids seem to focus on these to make themselves stand out, as if it is something cool. Story 57. Women like it because of the butt. By the time you are 30, you should not be grossed out by a little residue after intimacy. If you are, grow up. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.